think I just scored pretty big here. Got this on Facebook Marketplace, 50 bucks. Let's see if I can get it out. Well, it truly is a beautiful day out here today. We just got the first snow, or first significant snow on the mountains back there. And yeah, I looked at the camera and you can't really see this right now because it's so beautiful and sunny outside. But I got it up here and it wasn't easy, so let's take a look at it. I still haven't quite figured out what decade this thing is from, but if I had to guess, it'd be late 50s or early 60s, just based on the general style of it. Let's come over to the back here. This is why I was interested in this thing. You can see them through there. The vacuum tubes, they're right there. So, very exciting to see what we've got going on in here. Oh, I could have just done this. So it looks like a very, very simple power amplifier here. We've just got 3 tubes per side. And then our speakers have the most pathetic little magnets I think I've ever seen. Oh my gosh. See, these things are cool and all, but like, more often than not, they're just crammed full of junk. We'll see what we think of this tube amplifier though. Let's take a look above. We've got our record player. I wonder if that even works. I haven't even checked to see if this thing has a stylus yet. Last time I had one of these, I had a lot more room, and now I don't have as much. So I started looking around, and we've got the record changer thing. I know these work in a certain way. I've never actually successfully used one. We do have a stylus. Doesn't really look like anything I'd want to put a nice record on. Little scary. So we'll proceed with caution there. Here we've got our 4 speeds here, which is pretty cool. You can switch between them, so maybe they work. Got on and off and reject. Then over here we've got some knobs. One thing I noticed is, AM, that feels pretty normal. The inputs I'm giving it move it about what I would expect. Then you go over to FM, and look at what I'm giving it as an input, and then look how freaking fast that moves. That's wild. I don't know what's going on there. Then we've got our switches. Looks like this might be our power switch. And then you got functions. I don't really understand the AM, FM phono multiplex thing going on there. That's kind of weird. Obviously this is quite old. And yeah, it says high fidelity, but I'm starting to think that this might not be the highest quality. Let's see. We're about to find out if I got lucky, if I bought something great, or if I bought junk. And yeah, of course these old record players do this. They're basically on springs. Just terrible. Okay, let's find out what we're in for. Let's power this thing on right now. Alright, I figure we might as well hook up the dim bulb and see what happens here. I will throw what I believe is the power switch. Oh yeah. Looks a little bright, don't you think? At least it's dimming down, so we know that Sadie. Someone's got the zoomies. Looks like we're pulling an expected amount of power at this point. So I would be okay hooking this right up to the wall. Sadie. Remember last time we did a console? You jumped inside. Yeah. What is that? Can you believe it? Oh man. Now it's a party. I do hear AC hum out of the woofer. So something is starting to happen. Right, Hodor? What do you think? Do you want to go on top of the console? No? Okay, fine. He does not want to. Okay. Let's plug this right into the wall and see what happens. Alright. Turn that off. Go right to the wall. And let's see what happens. Yeah, we've got a whole lot of nothing here. Maybe you can hear that? We've literally just got AC hum depending on the input. So what that tells me is our preamplifier or our inputs or whatever probably not working. The power amp seems to be working, so I think what I'd like to do is attempt to isolate the power amplifier, and we'll just see if we can get the phone, for example, playing out of the power amplifier. Yeah, I didn't quite notice it when I was showing this outside, but there is a vacuum tube tuner and preamp up in there. So I think that's where our problem is, and I was expecting this all to be kind of hardwired, but it looks like we've got some connectors right here. So also check out that beautiful warm glow of those vacuum tubes. Yeah, it's just something about it. It's so cool. And yeah, there's our power light. It's working. Let's try pulling that out. And yeah, the AC hum went away when I did that. So that tells me our power amp is working perfectly, actually, because it's dead quiet. And I think I'll run the phone right into that. We'll see what happens here. So let's play everyone's favorite song right now. And there you go. Yeah, sounds great. Let's see if all of our speakers are working. Yeah, it all sounds right to me. Sounds a little muffled, of course, but you know, just what it is. So really cool to know that the tube power amp is working as it should. We just need to pull this tuner preamp unit and see what's going on there. So I think I'll work on pulling that, and we'll get that on the bench in a minute here. Before I take these all out, there's a number of things I want to undo. We want to undo first this cable right here. This connects our preamplifier to our power amplifier. If we come over here, plenty of cables to be undone. Like right here, we've got the lamps for up here. So let's just kind of, yep, very simple. We have what appears to be our AM antenna right here, so we'll probably unscrew that. And then this is our phono output right here. So we'll undo the record player. And we have some wires going here that are on a nice little connector right here. So that makes life very easy for me. The only thing we have left here is this sense. And oh, look at that. Comes right out. Beautiful. Okay, let's work on getting the rest of those bolts out, and we'll catch this thing. Whoops. Okay, it's okay. I got it all. There it is, everybody. Got our AM, FM, tuner, selector, everything. This will be real fun to tear apart. And of course, since we connect our power with this, we're going to need to pull the power amplifier as well so we can get our power distribution going. So the way this is going to come out is, well, looks like all of these nuts are already loose. One of them is completely loose over here, and the other one is on upside down. There we go. And of course we have a record player, power connector, and speakers. And they come right out, which is nice. Red on red, black on black. Very simple. And then our little lamp should, yep, that'll need to come out. 2 Phillips head screws. And there it is. Everything's out. Let's get this set up on the bench. Okay, we are on the bench. Let's take a look underneath this thing and just visually inspect it while it's not plugged in. See if we see any exploded capacitors or something. I don't know. What I'm expecting might be wrong with this is one of the main power supply caps might be just completely done for. So we'll see about that. My God, this thing is cheap. This is really, really thin steel. I tell you what. Oh, 2 different size screws. Amazing. I'm definitely not going to remember where each one goes. And it doesn't look like it even matters because it's about the same depth before you hit something on both sides. Okay. Let's take a look in here. What do we see? I see nothing, folks. I'll show you also. I don't see anything wrong here. But I will say that there is one thing I'm kind of realizing here that might be the reason why we don't really see anything wrong. And that is our power supply, I think, is actually over here. So I'll bet you one of those filter capacitors is done for, and that's supplying the power to this thing through that 6-pin connector. So I know that this thing has no cover, so let's take a look over here. What do we got going on? So I don't see anything wrong here visually. Everything here looks pretty okay, but I will mention this. The capacitors on these, they're all inside of these, those little 4-pin guys right there on the chassis. Those are capacitors. I think they're for the power amplifier though, based on where the wires go. But over here, you've got these 2 right here. And it looks like you've got some wires going right to them, and I also see some electrical tape, which is kind of suspicious to me, especially since the bolts weren't all in place. So somebody's had this apart before. First place I'm going to go is right here. I'm going to check each of these capacitors because I see wires in this general area going to our 6-pin connector right here, and I'll bet you something's kind of going on there. First things first, I would like to peel back this electrical tape and see what the heck is going on there. Okay, it would actually appear that the only thing happening here with this electrical tape is we have the yellow and red wires coming together so that we have the 2 capacitors in parallel. It says on the case that we have 50 microfarad capacitors at both our red and yellow wires, and then that this black is the common. The way we would test this is we would undo this solder joint, we pull this black wire off of this terminal block, and then measure across those. So let's check that out. Okay, let's see what we get. I didn't quite get the splice undone, but let's see what happens anyways. That's a bad cap. Very obviously a bad cap. So what we need to do now is get a replacement in place, right? So let's clip this old thing out of here. I forgot to mention it until now. I have no service manual for this. I have no idea what any of this stuff is. There are no numbers, no manufacturers written anywhere. So I'm going completely off of what I'm seeing. I would look this up in the schematic if I could, but I've got nothing. So we'll see if I can figure this out. Anyways, we know we want about 100 microfarads, and then this is a 150 volt capacitor. I don't have a 100 microfarad 150 volt. The only thing I have here that'll work is these guys, 47 450 volts. So if I put these in parallel, I'll join these real quick, and then I'll jumper them in with some clips here, and then we'll haphazardly turn this on and see if we get any sound. So we're going to take our white jumper, we'll take the negative end of the caps, and we will put it on our black wire. Sorry, the terminal. And then we'll take our red jumper, we'll put it at the plus end of the capacitors, and we'll attach it right to the red wire here. So now at this point, we need to get out some safety equipment like our isolation transformer and turn this thing on and hook it up to some speakers, see if we get anything. And we don't need the Variac this time around because we've already turned this on and we know that it is working. So if anything, we could go dim bulb but I'm not even going to do that because I'm fairly confident in what's going on here. Okay, so this looks a little bit insane, and that might be because it is. What we've got here is our capacitors tied in, like I showed you. We will confirm that none of these wires are touching anything, so that should be okay. We got the isolation transformer and our preamp. Remember how this used to go into the power amplifier? We know the power amplifier works, so all we need to do is run this straight to our Marantz 2215B, which is already connected to our test speakers. So we just set this to aux, we can plug this in, and then I think we can turn this on and see if anything happens. Maybe I should not have the volume on max. Okay, things are happening. There's something there. We have something. It's very poor, but it is something. Since we don't have FM, we're getting nothing out of there. I think I'll turn this off. And let's look at that other capacitor and see what we've got. Alright, so there's a lot going on here. I ended up removing this one here, and I want to show you what happens when we test it. When we connect across these terminals here, we get that it is in-circuit / leaky. And I think that ESR has changed on me a few times now, so this thing is also junk. I think this one might be original, and this one might have been a replacement at some point in this thing's life. Looking more closely, maybe some of you saw it in the video, I didn't quite see it initially. I don't think this is an original capacitor. And it's also bad, so we got rid of it. So we've got them each replaced right here with these funny little things. And yeah, I've got 4 jumpers going for reasons. There's no schematic. I can't tell you what's going on with a screenshot or anything. I would if I could. But after messing with FM a little bit and giving it a little extra antenna, look what happens when I turn up the volume. So I've got FM radio. But it appears that we have a pretty strong muting circuit somewhere in here. Because you hear no static, right? And I don't really know how I would turn off that muting circuit. Maybe one of these adjustments controls it. I don't know. But for now, we know that the FM tuner works. And the AM tuner also works. But it doesn't work very well. It sounds like most AM tuners. You know, the radio actually sounds pretty good through this thing. That's, you know, no surprise. Vacuum tubes naturally just sound very good. So I'm pretty happy with this so far. It would appear that we've gotten it working, at least much better than it used to. So I have to decide what to do next now. Okay, I just got some parts from Mauser. I've got some 100 microfarad 450 volt caps that we'll throw in here to replace these dead ones here. Then I got some cheaper film caps to replace like this one here. That's just a power capacitor, but these right here, these are Nichicon PWS series. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them right here. And then we've got another few in here also. I want to get this wire mess out of the way, get some known good caps in, and then replace all of the capacitors that appear to be quite literally falling apart. Cue the time lapse. So I got the caps replaced, just those 3 in there. Again, not my cleanest work, but you know, it's gonna work. And this thing doesn't really impress me that much. I think it's pretty cheap for the time, so I'm not trying too hard with it. It's really not worth much of anything. Anyways, I just did about the dirtiest FM alignment one can do. Again, I still haven't found a schematic. I still have no idea what's going on here, but some of you, not many of you, saw the FM alignment video I put out a few months ago, and in that I learned quite a bit. So I learned enough to where I could kind of take my best guess at this. Like, there's 2 screws right here on the bottom here. Those are adjustments, and then maybe I'll be able to rotate it enough. But this thing right here, that's an adjustment coil. And then these 2 things right here, those are also adjustment coils. So the dial on this thing is so inaccurate. So basically I just tuned my FM alignment, or FM generator, all the way to, looks like about 98.5 megahertz. Again, doesn't really matter because the dial doesn't really mean anything on this thing. That's on the other side, you'll see that later. And I just did adjustments until I got the strongest sine wave I could possibly get out of right here. So can't really get the signal if we go down to the X10 like we could with some of the solid state tuners we were using earlier, but this should be good enough. So I guess I'll take this off of the generator, and I'll hook this back up to the quote antenna. This is our antenna, and let's see what we've got when we turn the dial. Wow. Indeed. That works absolutely insanely better. We weren't getting many stations at all before, but now we are. Now that we've been able to kind of center the thing, if you will. So, yeah, this thing is back in business. Pretty awesome. Very happy with those results. I really wasn't thinking I'd get that good, but I did. So now I think what I want to do next is replace the caps in there that I see that are kind of falling apart. Like, these caps are kind of like dislodging themselves from these capacitor cases. So I want those out. I want new ones in. And I'm going to do the same thing with the power amplifier, which is behind the FM generator right now. You know, I keep forgetting I bought this arm that can hold the camera over my workpiece, but yeah, you can kind of see here, like that one right there on the end, like it's just about to explode or something. This one, that's about to come out, so we need to get rid of all these caps in here that are super old and shouldn't be in here anymore. So, well, let's go. Got those 6 replaced. I had a pin break on one of these tube sockets, and I had to very haphazardly put it back together. We'll see if that ends up working. I'm not sure. And then we had one capacitor just completely break as I was removing it. So yeah, this looks like paper and oil, if you ask me. And yeah, these little end caps are what was kind of starting to come out on the ends here. Like this one here is really bad. And just real quick, you'll notice the 2215B is off. I've got the speakers hooked up to the power amp that I just recapped. And sounds pretty decent. Certainly good enough for a console. So I'm calling that done. The big caps, the multi-section cans that run the power amplifier, I think those are fine. Everything seems to be working. So I'm just gonna let those be. Time to move on to this. I see at least 5 capacitors in there. These 3 shouldn't be too bad, but there's some in that general area that might be kind of weird to get to. Alright, I just got done recapping this section of the console. We've got these 3 replaced right here. And I guess I'll just note real quick for all you cap snobs out there. Yes, I am using cheap Mauser capacitors. If you were recapping something higher end, you would want to use higher quality capacitors, stuff you can't quite get on Mauser. Don't quite know exactly what direction to steer you in, but just know that these are cheap, and they're probably not going to sound quite as good as a higher end capacitor would if you are expecting high quality sound. That being said, folks, this is a AM tuner, an FM tuner, and a preamplifier, and a switchboard, all in one unit, and like I can hold this with my pinky. Like, this is really not heavy at all. So to answer the question, did I get lucky or did I buy junk? I think I bought junk, honestly. And yeah, I also got these 2 capacitors replaced. I had to undo the nuts on the front of this, which, you know, maybe you can see that. These are like those stamped steel nuts. They're not even actual nuts. It's like, that's just kind of gives you an idea of the quality here, what you're paying for. Yeah, I had to remove those nuts to pull these pots out and get to the solder joints and then just shove it all back in there. So looks like I'm not shorted on anything, which is good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hook this back up, and I'm going to test it out to see if it still works after my recapping. And if it does, next thing we'll want to do is check out the record player on the console, but in order to do that we got to put all this stuff back in. So let's do a quick check here. We will run with the dim bulb in case I shorted anything out on accident. So we'll turn that on, and then where's my power switch? Yep, that's my power switch. The bulb is lit, but that is dimming down, so we know that we are A-okay. So I'll just switch this over real quick. Throw that in there quickly. Alright, we are powered on, and we should be getting sound out of this thing. Still works. Well, with that, it appears the repairs are good, so we can throw this back in the console. Let's go. But of course, let's not forget, we gotta use our deoxit to clean up the controls on this. Okay, it is assembled. Let's see if anything explodes. That's a good sign. Oh, it's because that switched to phono. There, now it's on. Let's see if we get sound out of it. Well, it picks up one station, and that is good enough for me. We can see if the record player works real quick. This one's for you, John. Let's see if this works. Okay. There's that, 33. Turn it on, but we'll need to switch it to phono and switch that to phono. And there it goes. Oh wow. It does work. I think it's a little slow. Very slow. Yeah, I mean, the record player works, but it sounds like crap, and it turns at a crap speed, and yeah, so that is why we are not going to mess with this record player, even though it works. I think we could do something better. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed me resurrecting this thing and getting it to work again, but as we saw, this thing is kind of a piece of shit, and it really shouldn't have gotten the attention it just got, but here we are. So I think, though, that it looks nice. It looks nice enough, and I think the power amplifier is something we can salvage. So I think I want to do something with specifically this power tube amplifier, but we can upgrade these speakers and we can upgrade all of the stuff right here. So if you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments, or let me know just by subscribing. It is that time of the year, so happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy whatever you are celebrating. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.